Welcome to the HeartSpace podcast. It's been a while since we have done one of these, but I want to start getting into a more regular rhythm with doing these little podcasts where we can dive a little bit deeper into some of these topics that we discuss here on HeartSpace that I make videos on. So if you have any suggestions on things you would like to see covered in these podcasts, certain topics, certain ideas, whatever else it is, let me know in the comments down below. I'm going to try and do these podcasts at least once a week. And so if you comment down below with your suggestions and I like it, or a lot of you want to see a podcast made on a particular topic, like it gets a lot of upvotes or whatever, a lot of people say, yes, do this, I will consider covering it in a future podcast. Now, today, before we get started, let's talk about the sponsor of this podcast, which is me, which is HeartSpace itself. And I'm only kidding, of course. I just wanted to bring your attention to a couple things, a couple resources that I have for you. First off, A Day Well Lived now has about 20 spots remaining. 10 of those spots were taken, but we have about 20 spots remaining as of the recording of this podcast. So if you'd like to get a free course, which is a video series on how to live pretty much a more fulfilling life, live life on your terms. It's a 10-part video series. This is incredible, great, amazing tools that could have been a paid course and might be a paid course in the future, but right now I'm letting 20 more people in for free, and it's just a first come, first served basis. So if you'd like to get in that, check it out down below. I'll leave all the links down below. I also have a free manifesting course, magnetic manifesting, which you can find down below. All the links will be in the description. Anything I cover in here too that I need to put a link for will be down there in the description. So check those out if you are interested. Again, just a few spots left in the Day Well Lived one, but the magnetic manifesting course, that will always be free. That is just a free course. So let's get into what I want to talk to you about today. And what I want to talk about is something that I have been exploring for a while, actually, but I've been brought back to it because there's been some changes in my life, and there's been some bends in the river, so to speak, and some letting go, and so many different things. And it makes you take a look at, old ideas and old questions that you may have had, or things of this nature. And what ended up happening is recently I've been reading a series of books that I always have with me, that I love to read. And for whatever reason, I was drawn back to reading these books. And the books are Conversations with God, if you've ever heard of these books. No, these are not religious books. So if you're worried, oh no, this is a religious dogmatic thing, it isn't. It's by an author called Neil Donald Walsh. And they're not religious texts by any means or any stretch of the imagination. Not at all. In fact, they even cover that in the books themselves. But I was drawn to reading these books again. There are 3 of them. I have 2 of them with me. A third one I left somewhere else, and I'm having it shipped to me so I can actually read it. But I just, in the last week or 2 weeks, reread the first 2 books, or at least the first one, and I'm close to finishing the second one. And the God character in these books, essentially the entity, or whatever Neil is channeling when he's asking questions, and it's done as a conversation. That's why it's called Conversations with God, where Neil will ask a question or give some input, and then God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, will answer, and he'll write down the response. And for a lot of people, that sounds crazy. That sounds like, oh, how is that possible? But if you read the book, you'll quickly realize, especially if you're fairly intuitive, especially if you're fairly heart-centered and heart-based, you'll be able to see pretty quickly, holy crap, there is something to this. I really do believe that when truth is revealed, when you hear truth, see truth, experience it, if you have tuned the tools that we all have, the spiritual tools, we could call them, if you have fine-tuned those, worked on those, sharpened them, used them, then you'll be able to tell truth from falsehood. And every time I go through this book, it just screams truth at me. And so I like reading them often. I've read these books at least, I don't even know how many times now way through. But the idea I want to go over is this idea of what you really are. This is what the title of the podcast probably is, what you actually are, what you really are, whatever it is. And because this theme is discussed time and time again in the book. And it's something that Neil, the author, who of course is asking the questions of the creator, of God, of the universe, again, whatever label you want to put on this, time and time he has trouble accepting this idea that the God character in his book keeps presenting him with and tells him is the truth. And it's this idea that you, and I want to not hold back in this podcast, so I will not. So some of these ideas, again, not everyone's going to agree with me. These ideas are my own. Yes, I'm getting these ideas from a book, but I am making the choice to take these ideas on board, right? So that's my choice and my opinion on it. And basically what the God character says is the problem is the thing you will not accept, and he says this to Neil, the biggest basis of your problems is that you do not accept that you are actually God, that you are the universe, that you are a co-creative, infinite divine being that is not only creating with God, stemming from God, but is God. And he goes on to say that what you are actually doing, you are how I actually experience godliness, how I actually experience myself. And the God character in his book goes on to talk about how in his realm, everything is oneness, everything is this collective oneness, everything is the same, therefore, and it's just oneness and total bliss and all this different stuff. But what he says is, I can know, therefore, I know what divinity is, I know what godliness and just all of this is, but I can't experience it. Because in order to experience something, you have to have duality. In order to experience hot, you have to have cold. In order to experience up, you have to have down. You cannot actually experience something if you have nothing to relate it to. If there's no contrast, there's no experience. And so what the character, again, in this book says is that he experiences his own divinity, he, her, whatever you want to use, and God experiences its own divinity through us. And that the whole point of our lives here is to get back to understanding, continually be raising our consciousness to the point where we recognize that we are God trying to remember that we are God. That we are the universe trying to remember that we are the universe. That sure, we are an individual expression of it, but ultimately at the core truth of everything, we are one and the same as it, which is what oneness is. And so, that's a great way to start, right? Throw that at you. But so, what is it we truly are? And you hear me say this in a lot of videos. If you watch quite a few of them, I love saying this because I think it's true. And when I root myself in this idea, it helps me and serves me tremendously. And I think it can for you as well. And I will say something like, what you are is a divine, co-creative, infinite being. And I don't say that to be cute. I don't say that to, just say something in order to lift someone up. Although if it does that, that's great too, if that's a byproduct of it. I say that because I ultimately believe that to be true. I believe that you, me, everyone on this planet is a divine, infinite, co-creative being. That you are one with God. That you are one with the universe. Not superior to anything or inferior to anything, but the same. But the sameness is divine. This sameness is, I just have a package being delivered. Hopefully Lily will go get that, or I'll have to pause this and come back. Let's see. But ultimately, we are all divine. You are divine. We are infinite, co-creative, divine beings. And a lot of the suffering that so many people go through is not that we aren't this, but that we have forgotten this. We have forgotten what we are. Who you are is something completely different. You get to choose who you are in relationship to the moment. That's the dualistic experience, right? You get to be something in relation to something else. And in this book, the God character goes over how in every moment you are choosing how you wish to show up, who you wish to show up as in relation to the moment. So you can choose to show up as love, you can choose to show up as hate, you can choose to show up as fear, you can choose to show up as compassion and abundance and wealth and all of these different things. You ultimately get to choose. But at your core, at the truth of it all, what you can never change is what you are. And again, what you are is that divine, co-creative, infinite being. You are creative though. Notice the co-creative part of that. Creative in the sense that you get to choose who you wish to be, who you want to be in relationship to the moment. That is your power. That is, in a way, your superpower that we all possess. This is why people who you come across who, when you speak to them or you interact with them, you experience that they are incredibly negative, and then you look at their lives and they're living out a very, what would seem, negative existence. Why? Because despite this person not realizing it, they are a divine, co-creative, infinite being, and they are creating the experience of negativity. Whereas I've met people, for example, who are incredibly positive, just fun-loving people, smiling all the time, genuinely, loving, caring, compassionate. And then I look at how they live their lives and how their lives are panning out. And even if these people are not aware that they are an infinite, co-creative, divine being, it doesn't matter. The truth isn't concerned with whether you are aware of it or not. In the same way that the law of attraction works, whether you believe in it or not. In the same way that if you're in the physical realm, and you drop something from a height, it will fall because of gravity, right? Within that container, those things exist, regardless of whether you are aware of it or not. A lot of us don't know what we don't know, and that's most of it, right? But even if you take someone who is very positive, they think positively, they speak positively, they are positive to their fellow man and to the world around them, you'll observe that for the most part, their lives are very beautiful, very positive. Very incredible. Living the kind of life that many people would look at who are maybe living more negatively and almost in a way envy or say, oh, isn't that nice? But because the truth of the matter is that that guy, that person, or that woman, whoever it is also a co-creative, infinite divine being. Has the ability to create anything, infinite. Because they have decided to be in that way, they create that in their own life. But this core idea of what you actually are, I think if more people could get behind it and understand it and feel and experience it, the world would change overnight. Now, this is most likely not going to happen. However, the question is, for any of you listening, for you specifically listening right now, what can this do for you? How would your life change if in moments of stress, moments of so-called struggle, you were able to root yourself and remember what you actually are, that you are a divine, infinite, co-creative being, and you are actually choosing your experience right now and always have been. That through your choosing, you express your co-creative abilities. Through choosing how you think, choosing how you speak, choosing how you act, choosing how you respond, choosing the energy that you entertain, the energy you transmute, the energy you transcend, the energy you stay in. That is your creative power. You express your creative power through choice. Your God-given creative power that is given by the thing that you actually are. That is given by the thing that wishes to experience through you. And we all have the choice. And when you remember what you are, and you truly connect with this idea, because it's all good to think about this, and it's very hard to connect with this idea intellectually, especially if you grew up in the West, where I'm assuming a lot of you have, like me, myself. I used to never be able to connect with this idea. I thought that life was only suffering. I thought that, the physical world was all there was. I didn't understand the metaphysical. I didn't understand the spiritual. In fact, I balked at it. I grew up Christian, but I completely resisted it. And I still have a lot of issues with dogmatic religion. I'm not someone who follows dogmatic religion, or tend to follow things that put a bunch of rules on things arbitrarily and obviously human-made. Obviously human-made from humans who did not think they were, or did not know what they truly are, but thought they were inferior to what they believed was out there or is out there. So I'm not coming from that perspective. But when you actually experience this, when you actually connect with what you truly are and you experience the truth of that, and one of the things that God says in this book, the universe says in this book, is that their main way of communication is experience. That most people think the main way of communication is words, is conversation, in the sense that you're listening to this, consuming this, I'm speaking to you, and you're listening to my words, and you're taking them in, you're interpreting them, filtering them, applying them into your worldview as you see fit. And you may interpret them completely different than I interpret them. And this is why it goes over that words are its least favorite form of communication, because they're way too open to interpretation. However, experience, when you experience something, that is not open to interpretation, not to you. Other people might come in and try and tell you what your experience was. Other people might come in and judge your experience. In fact, I've experienced this quite profoundly, quite powerfully, because and quite unexpectedly, because I have found that I have to root myself in my own knowingness and my own experiences and understand, that experience is the universe's main way of communicating with me, and not to allow others to convince me otherwise of what the experience actually was. Because about 6 months ago, I shared a near-death experience that I had over 2 years ago now. And what I was not prepared for was the amount of people who came to that video and told me my experience wasn't what I thought it was or felt it was. All these people who had not experienced what I had gone through thought that they knew more about the experience than me because of a certain maybe religious belief they have, or a certain other belief, maybe even a dogmatic scientific belief. And yes, science can be dogmatic. Science in its purest form shouldn't be, and really can't be, in its pure definition, but it still is. Many people use it as dogmatically as people who follow certain religions do. And of course, there's no just one way. There's everything in between. There are people who I've met who are religious and completely open, and are absolutely wonderful, open-minded, respectful, loving people. Of course, it happens at all ends of the spectrum. But what I saw was incredible truth in that near-death experience. And it was quite clear that despite trying to convey my experience through words, through a video, which I still think was a good thing to do, because there are people who will actually be open to that and listen and hopefully take something away from it. What I found is, for the people who completely rebuked it and denied it, because it was so unbelievable and so outside their worldview, they couldn't know it, because it's not something you can know through just someone talking about it, unless you have gone through something similar. Because I got people on the same video talking about either having gone through their own near-death experience and being able to connect with what I was saying, even having, and it was actually very beautiful. I remember crying or having tears in my eyes, tears of joy, tears of just kind of, if you ever had tears where it's just like something so beautiful or profound and you just kind of have tears in your eyes, it was kind of like that. It was just like, oh my God, this is amazing. The connection, just whatever about this is just making me well up. And I wasn't sad, essentially. When people would start to describe their near-death experiences to me, having gone through, the experience being completely different in sense of the vehicle, in the sense of like how it occurred, but then them telling me and relating to me the same exact experience as a part of the experience being exactly the same as I went through. Very specifically, the unconditional love part of it, the everything's going to be okay part of it. And it's very hard for someone who hasn't gone through that, and especially if they're closed-minded, to be able to relate to that. And so what essentially bringing this back to what I was talking about, the God character saying the main way I will communicate with you is through experience. It's through experience you will know what the truth is. You will know what I am trying to communicate. And I'll let you know that near-death experience was one of the most profound experiences of my life, because pure truth, pure unconditional love was communicated to me through that experience. And it is still something when I think about it, I get tingles up my spine. I just, I feel I can connect back to that feeling of unconditional love. Sometimes I even well up with tears when I really start to talk about it deeply, because it was just such a profound experience. And when you experience what you truly are, when you experience truth, not read about it, although you can still, again, depending on your perspective, depending on your point of view, depending on your openness, you can still, I believe, get a taste of the experience through reading something, because reading is an experience in and of itself, or hearing something, depending. But what I'm essentially saying, you can connect and experience what you truly are. You don't need to go through a near-death experience. There are people who, there was even someone describing to me, how when she held a baby, she had a similar experience. And that is very possible, because this experience is available in everything. This experience of understanding what you are. I've had this experience since when I've been at the beach where I live, and I've just had the experience of, holy crap, everything is God, everything is the universe, I am the universe, I am co-creating with the universe, yet at the same time, I am the universe. It's the divine dichotomy, seemingly contradictory, but also at the same time true. And you can actually experience that. And yeah, it sounds so nuts until you experience it. And so I suppose what I'm encouraging is to experience it. Now you can't fabricate it. Obviously, I didn't try to have a near-death experience. And I would never, even despite how profound that experience was, I wouldn't try and fabricate that or try and have it again. That just happened. That just happened to be something that allowed me to experience this, but I've also experienced similar things since, and so can you. So how do you experience what you truly are? First off, you have to be open to be willing to receive what you truly are. Again, you are a creative being, so you can even choose creatively to not be who, or to not be what you are as an identity. Now, of course, at the end of the day, you can never stop being it. You will always be what you are. You will always be a divine, co-creative, infinite being. There is no getting around it, and you will come to that realization one way or another, whether it comes to you in the next, lifetime, whether it comes to you after you leave this physical existence and return to oneness or whatever's next. You will come to that realization soon enough, because ultimately that is what you are. However, you are creative. You are a creative, infinite, divine being. So you can even fool yourself, as many people have, give yourself an identity which does not associate with being that. And of course, because we're not taught any of these things, we're not taught to tap into our intuition, we're not taught to think outside the box, feel outside the box, find our truth, find what resonates with us, all this different stuff. A lot of us don't come to these answers until much later, right? If at all. But this is something you can truly connect with. And when you can connect with what you truly are, when you can connect with yourself as a divine, infinite co-creator, co-creating with the universe, but also the universe, co-creating with that which you also are. When you can connect to that, magical things start to happen. Because you see yourself as the perfect being that you are. Not perfect by our definitions of perfect, because we have a flawed perception of what perfection actually is. Because perfection is what everything is. We just think that a certain thing isn't perfect because it doesn't fit our expectations or judgments. But at the end of the day, you are a perfect, divine, co-creative, infinite being, a beautiful thing. a part of an eternal process that is continually going, always has been going and always will, of which you are intricately connected into, and also at the same time all of it. We're getting super esoteric in this one, guys. Again, I don't know how many this will resonate with, but I wanted to not hold back in this one and just go with it. Find ways to connect with what you actually are. Ask the question, what am I? What am I truly? And I'm not even kidding. Meditate on this idea. Ask the universe. Ask God. And if you're open to receiving, you'll start to get answers. You'll start to get answers through feelings. You'll start to get answers maybe even through experiences. You'll start to get answers through maybe even coming to a podcast like this and listening to this point where you actually get this information. You may get answers in the sense of certain videos and resources. I got that answer through these books. I got that answer through my near-death experience. Again, don't be afraid. This doesn't mean you need to go through a near-death experience. I don't regret having gone through it. I love that I went through it. But this, again, you can't manufacture these experiences. You can't force your own breakthrough. Otherwise, it's not a breakthrough. But you can align yourself with this energy. Be open to receiving the truth and the actual answers instead of what you believe are the answers. To actually experiencing the answers instead of just acquiring knowledge. Wisdom instead, acquiring wisdom through experience. The difference between that, knowledge is just someone else's experience that you're reading about for the most part. Wisdom being your own. Of course, there can be, you can define it differently, but that's how I believe it was defined in the book itself, actually, in Conversations with God. And I like that interpretation of those words. And so connect with that, find it, go searching for it, be open to it, more importantly. Because if you're open to actually learning what you are, it will be brought to you. You will receive what you are. And then when you actually experience what you are, if you can root yourself in your knowingness, another idea that they go over in this book, root yourself in your knowingness, what you know through your experience, what you know you actually are, when you can root yourself in that, when you root yourself in this idea and knowingness that you are a divine, infinite, co-creative being, what do you think you'll start creating? Because when you start creating from that place, holy crap, I'm a divine, infinite, co-creative being, imagine what you will create in your own life, the people you love, and for the planet. Imagine what will come out of that. Instead of being someone who chooses, key word here, that they are going to be someone who's, average in relationship to the moment. It's like, yeah, I can maybe create a little bit of this and a little bit of that. When the reality of it is, if you are open to it, you are an infinite, divine, co-creative being. You can create so much, anything, really. You can experience things you can't possibly even imagine right now. Unless, of course, you've already kind of hooked into this idea that maybe you can imagine it. But when you connect to this, when you understand what you truly are, and again, don't take my word for it. This is not meant to be my way is the way, and what I'm saying is going to be the best for you. I'm saying if this resonates with you, if there's something to this that you believe there's an element of truth, find out. This is what I think, again, in my eyes, not enough people do. They hear something and they don't go find out if it's applicable to them. They don't go find out if it will serve them. And people do this on both ends of the spectrum. They don't go out and find out the things that could be helpful, if those things will serve them. And then on the other end of the spectrum, a lot of people will believe things that are hurtful. They'll just believe them. Things that don't serve them, serve to keep them down, serve to keep them disempowered, serve to keep them away from what they truly are. And they'll believe it, no questions asked, because it's coming from a quote-unquote authority. You should question authority. You should question everything. Not, ooh, sorry, a door slammed. And then I think you might have heard Lily yelp. It's a bit windy. What was I saying? Yes, question everything. Be an open-minded skeptic. Learn to listen, but be skeptical. or be skeptical, but learn to listen. Because when you do that, when you actually hold things up to the light and scrutinize it, the only thing that will remain, if you do this from your heart, is the truth. Lies cannot hold on when held up to the light of scrutiny. The darkness cannot remain when the light is shined on it. And so if you really want to get to the truth of things, if you really want to find out if someone has your best interests at heart, be open, be skeptical about it, and see if it works. If someone tells you, for example, hey, work out, do this diet and this routine, and you'll get stronger. Well, if you're completely closed off to it, you'll never get the results. But if you're open to it, then it's like, okay, I'm going to do it and find out for myself. And then through the results you get, you can determine whether it's something that's true to you, true for you, will serve you or not. So it's very simple with this idea. Try on the idea. Put it on. It's not permanent. It's like Velcro. You have one of those cool little Velcro suits on. You ever do that when you were a kid? Where I think I did this once or twice. If you ever went to like a carnival or a fair or whatever, where they put you in like it's like a Velcro suit, and then you jump, you run at this like it's like this inflatable thing, and you run at this wall and you jump on it and you stick to it. So think like you have one of those suits on. It's all Velcro. And you can try on these different things, but if they don't serve you, like you do it for a little bit and it's not serving you, you can just take it off, throw it out, and put something else on. Try something else. But try it, because it's through your experience you will learn what serves you and what is actually true. When you put something through the light of your experience, through the light of you actually applying it and putting it up to scrutiny, true scrutiny from your heart, from your intuition, when you put it there, if it's false, it will wither. If it's true, it will stand strong and benefit you. It will stand strong and serve you and lead you and guide you in greater and greater ways. And so I'm going to end this podcast, but this is what I implore you to do if this resonates with you. Try on this idea that you are a divine, infinite, co-creative being. Connect to that idea. Or even just ask the universe, through your meditations, just talk. I like to talk out loud to the universe every morning. Ask, what am I? Not who am I? Because you choose who you are. You will choose who you are. Everyone is someone different. Somebody. That is a choice coming from a physical standpoint, right? You're a three-part being, by the way. You're physical, you're spiritual, and you also have your mind, whatever, mindful. The identity of who you are is usually, I am a somebody. I'm a physical, this is what I am in the physical world. I'm David McEwen. Yeah, sure, that's my name. I'm David McEwen, but that's just a label. I'm not David McEwen. That's a name given to me that my parents decided to give me. The first name at least. The last name obviously just passed down. It's not who I am. It's certainly not what I am. It's something I associated to myself and other people associate because it's easier for us to operate in society when we have a label for each other, right? It just makes things easier. But don't get confused. Don't think that's what you are. But this is my challenge to you. Either, if it resonates with you, try on the idea of I am a divine, infinite, co-creative being. That's what I am. If that's a little much of a stretch for you, then go get your own answers. If that doesn't resonate with you, if it resonates with you, you can go directly for that. If it doesn't, ask God, ask the universe, through whatever methods you have found works the best for you, what am I? What am I, truly? And see what you get back. See what you get back. Make sure it's in your heart, not just your head. Make sure the answers are coming from that intuitive place. And then operate from there. This is my idea of what you truly are. This is the idea of this series of books, again, Conversations with God. And it has served me probably more than any other idea I've tried on in my life. it has been one of the best ideas that I've ever put on and run with. And so I want to give that to you too, if you are open to receiving. If not, that's great too. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know other video or other podcasts you want to see. We're going to try and do this once a week. So I would love some topic suggestions, and I will create the ones that resonate with me, that I think will be helpful, that I think I can give a nice perspective on. So let me know those down below. Also, what I like to do at the end of these podcasts is do a little hashtag to see who made it to the end. So let's do hashtag what I truly am. So if you put hashtag what I truly am down in the comments, it just indicates to me that you've made it to the end. And also, let's just say it will have a little bit of an effect on whether I choose to do a topic or not, because I obviously want to create podcasts based on the suggestions of those who are actually listening to them. So that just helps me again to be able to know that, oh, someone who's listening all the way through these podcasts is really digesting this, who is absorbing these ideas, possibly applying them. They made this suggestion. Let me make this podcast on this topic. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to this podcast. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate you for what you are. I appreciate you for being here. Please, if it serves you, if you believe it resonates with you, connect to what you truly are. Remember that you are loved, which you'll start learning also when you connect with what you really are. You'll start to experience that too. And I will see you or speak to you in the next video, podcast, or wherever I see you. Take care, guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day.